have truck numbers, and I think we're about 2 minutes away from the start. So I would
As far as truck,
I think, let's see here. Did he say hour by hour? Yeah. 22. What's that again? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. That was Kevin. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Elizabeth Whiteman. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Moore. Just do some quick introductions. We do have a variety of people from city staff. We have the city manager and the assistant city manager here, as well as some other city staff members. From BNSF, we have Mr. Darrell Coffey, Joe Sloan, and Michael Husick, their engineer from Jacobs Engineering. And we also have City Council Member Melissa Hunt from Ward 2, which is where this project is located. And we have several of our Planning Commission members here. So we have a good turnout tonight. I know that some people had to make some very difficult decisions today about what to do. We know that there is a vigil at the Moore High School for the recent tragedy. Certainly weighs on all of our minds. This meeting was scheduled, and we decided to go ahead and have it. And just so you know, we are being broadcast live on our Channel 20, and this is being recorded, so we will be able to replay this on Channel 20 and the website for people who cannot make it tonight. But because of that, we'll have to ask you to use a microphone whenever you speak or ask questions, so everyone can hear you in the recording. So this is not a public meeting, or public hearing, excuse me. There's no decisions to be made tonight. This is an informational meeting only. We felt it was important, along with BNSF, to have them explain the project to you and have them available for you to ask questions. We do have some weather coming in tonight, so we usually like to keep these meetings around an hour, hour and a half, but not too late because we all want to get home safe tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to BNSF Railroad. Joe Sloan will take the microphone first. And again, if you have any questions or comments, it's vitally important to have the microphone. Otherwise, no one will be able to hear you when it's recorded and replayed for those who cannot make it tonight, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass the mic off to Darrell in just a second, but I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Same feelings that were expressed by Elizabeth. There is some information up here. I'm a public affairs person, so at any point, if you have to head out or have questions later on, my point of contact information is up here. Feel free to contact me. Darrell's with Economic Development, so this is a new project. So it's an existing site there, Flynn. It's been in operation 100 years, and the idea is to put some customers on that site. There's a sand customer there now that's been operational. It'd be a similar type situation. Darrell has more details on that. The 2/3 of the property that's in Oklahoma City has been approved by the City of Oklahoma City through permit process, and it will go operational. We're working on that side of the property, and so we're talking about the 1/3 that's within Moore, seeking a change to the zoning through the process through the city. So this is information for your elected officials, for your staff, for us to hear and look at. Again, she said there's no decisions, no definitive coming out of this, but we're just looking for your input, so we thank you for coming out tonight. And again, if you have any questions or have to leave, my contact information's up here.
So again, thank you for coming out this evening. Again, my name is Darrell Coffey. I'm the Director of Economic Development for BNSF Railway. My responsibility is strategic development around logistics centers and logistics parks. That's, of course, our naming convention, but at the end of the day, what they are is business parks. And so what the railroad is doing is trying to create business parks to attract rail-served customers on property that we own or will buy, and do them essentially around the country. If you look at the slide there, and I'll try to point to it, you see a map, and those are the locations of our logistics centers today. Obviously, we have Oklahoma City there today, but we have one in Denver, we have one in a place called Sweetwater, Texas, and we have one in Hudson, and we've got 5 to 10 planned more around the country. This is our smallest site. It's 195 acres. Again, as Joe alluded to, it was on former BNSF property that we're doing. You know, our design here is to essentially bring rail-served customers in. Yes?
Well, let's switch over to this mic. It's going to sound better. Sure.
All right, great. Thank you.
Make sure that sounds right.
Testing? Testing? Is that good? All right, very good. So again, back to the map. That's essentially our master plan and of the site. We have 5 shovel-ready sites available today. As Joe alluded to, we also have 1 tenant already operating. That's at the former intermodal facility that you see right here. That would be what we call the transload facility. And again, we've got a map here that you can look at also later. We have 5 sites available to our customers that we're essentially, again, trying to attract them to locate here. The Oklahoma part of this, a third of this is in Moore, 2/3 lies in Oklahoma City. The Oklahoma City is fully entitled. It's zoned as heavy industrial. And so what we have been doing with the City of Moore is to work on the entitlements for this particular, for the Moore side of the logistics center. And we have been doing that through a PUD agreement, working with the city. From a benefit standpoint for the community, again, it's master plan. So the idea is that we can come in and we can plan this out properly. We can put the right roads in. We can put the infrastructure that's needed, the improvements around the intersection. Again, we believe it's going to attract industry to your community as well as create new jobs. And again, BNSF is putting money into the site. So the infrastructure, such as the 27th Street intersection that I talk about, that's funded by BNSF Railway. There's also plans to improve the intersection at 89th and Eastern. But of course, that's on the Oklahoma City side. Moving on, the next slide that I have up is the collaboration that we've done with the City of Moore up to this point. Again, what we are doing is creating a planned development agreement with the City of Moore. What that goes into is making sure that we have the proper screening, the landscaping done to the city standards. We have said that we are going to put in the full length on the Moore side, so there will be a berm from the boundary, the north boundary at Moore down to Eastern and 27th, and then over from 27th and Eastern all the way to where our property ends at the bridge at 27th. Within the PUD, we have for the interior lots, or excuse me, for the exterior lots, we have zoned that light industrial and limit that to distribution and other activities around that. The internal lots are, again, would be for some of the more heavier industrial type practice, or medium is the exact word, or the exact designation that we would do. And that would be closest to the rail yard in your Lot C and your Lot E. Thank you. Again, with the PUD, we also have a regional stormwater detention facility plan. That'll, of course, take the drainage, all the issues at the drainage off the existing rail yard and any of the development, and have a plan around it. Again, and then I've already mentioned the two intersections, doing the improvements on the intersections. That's the main items within the PUD. A little bit about traffic, and again, when we're done, I'll leave this slide up here so you can come up and look at it. We have gone back and redone our traffic estimates associated with the project. I don't know what you've heard out there, but again, in our revision, we see that there's about 2/3 less of the traffic that we originally planned 2 years ago. Reason for that is the traffic study pulled in all the potential opportunities that we had, and what we've gone back, now that we've done a couple of these, we've been able to revise our numbers to more realistic figures. So we're predicting, someone asked me earlier, what was the number of trucks per day? Right now it's 260, with most of the traffic expected to go out the north end of 89th and Eastern, up to 240 and out 35. About a quarter of that would be at the 27th Street intersection. What we've done is to build the inner roads to where they're going to be mainly geared to go north out of that 89th Street and Eastern intersection, because we are going to be putting scales in on that side. So the business that we do, most of the trucks want to be scaled. So they want to know what the weight is coming in and the weight going out. So there'll be a natural flow of the traffic up to 89th Street and Eastern. And then finally, for Moore, Oklahoma, the main infrastructure project that we have associated with this is the 27th Street intersection improvements. So this improvement to handle the traffic coming out of the south entrance exit would be BNSF funded. It's signalized. What it entails is a left-hand turn lane into the park coming from I-35 and a left-hand turn lane going into Cedar. Again, that's based on what we have to work with. That's essentially the improvements that we're going to put in. It's also, again, based on the traffic that we expect at that particular intersection. The improvements, of course, are dependent on BNSF and the City of Moore coming to agreement on a development agreement and the PUD approval. And our construction timeline would be based on the arrival of the customers. So that would actually be built as our customers locate, and the traffic is known based on whatever particular lot that they are in. So I'll go back to this. Again, this is a short presentation, but we're here to answer questions.
Can you go back and put that fourth slide on, please?
The first slide you said?
The fourth.
The fourth slide?
The fourth slide, the one that has all the turns?
Sure. This one right here, right?
Yes. So my biggest problem is, as a truck driver, and I've been in and out of your all's yards on numerous occasions over 7 years. My biggest problem is I go up and down 27th Street all the time. Okay, I work for Budweiser. I drive a truck still. I continuously go through that under that overpass. My biggest problem is with this is there should be no right-hand turn coming out of your facility. It's already going on a downhill slope. It's already a blind area. When you come up underneath that overpass and you have the street that comes, it's already blind enough making left turns or right turns. If you have trucks that are continuously going under that overpass, somebody's going to get hurt and killed because there's not going to be enough time to stop. You're talking about how many pounds come out of that facility, how many, on your trucks, how much weight are you looking at putting on a truck?
Well, the trucks would be standard weight, so.
So 80,000 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're talking about 80,000 pounds, and you're talking about a truck coming out of there. If a car can't stop on the other side of that bridge, you have another street right there.
Right.
Okay? it's already blind making a left turn, going underneath the overpass to go back towards Eastern. I've done that turn numerous times in a car. I've been hit, I've almost been hit. So my thing is if you guys are going to do this, I'd be opposed if you guys allow a right turn out of your facility. It should be a left turn to Eastern and Eastern to 240 and then out. There should be no exit to the right to go to 35. It's going to be a death trap. And that's not coming from, it's coming from somebody that's driven a truck at 80,000 pounds for 7 years.
Well, I can say that, as far as the improvements, as the developer, we're responsible for this particular intersection. As far as further improvements on 27th Street, we do have relationships with ODOT and the state. And we certainly, they know that this is a very important project for the economic development of the state and region. And, we'll continue to talk with them about needed improvements at the interchange and other improvements along 27th Street. Joe, you got anything to add to that? No. Okay.
Can you speak?
Sure. Yeah.
You're also looking at, we would improve some radiuses on the turn. What I think you're getting at is the truck has to swing out.
Underneath, there's a dip. It's blind.
Okay.
And if they're not paying attention when they're making a left turn, they go towards Eastern on the 27th, go back there and go there, it's going to be blind. And somebody's going to get T-boned by a semi with 80,000 pounds to do that.
Even if you're doing the 40-mile speed limit and you come down that dip as you get back up, there's a truck stop to turn in, which happened to me this week. You can't see them.
Okay. So then you would be talking about the stacking length we have in our left turn lane?
But even if I'm trying to pull out of my neighborhood, there's a truck coming under that bridge. I can't see them. I can pull out in front of them. I'm just saying, it's a blind spot.
Okay.
A right turn is not being essential thing.
I think they're just saying that this isn't getting recorded on the mic, so
Right.
Mike's over there after he's done.
Sorry.
Well, they finished. I'm waiting for my turn.
Okay, but then,
She's going to wait for your turn. Can you detail or maybe give a little bit more detail in regards to the economic impact and or the benefit to the city of Moore, as opposed to everything I heard there was just maybe a newer intersection at 27th, so maybe more along the lines of what that really brings as opposed to just traffic and some logistical issues?
Well, the logistics center is designed, so it's very difficult for various industries to establish their sites. And sites that actually have rail access are even more difficult to develop for a lot of reasons. What the BNSF Railway is doing is trying to attract industry along our main line, essentially. And the best way to go about doing it is going in early, establishing in this case, a logistics center, where we do the entitlement work, we do the grading work, we do various types of aspects to make the site more attractive. So from an economic standpoint, it brings in industry, and when industry comes in, it brings in jobs. So that's the benefit for Moore.
Okay, well, we kind of know where I stand on 27th. I've lived there a long time, and it's hard enough to get in and out of the Highland Park addition next to the Social Security office, and when you look to your right, there's that bridge, and sometimes if they're moving, you just can't see them. And, you've got rush hour traffic in the morning, the afternoon, you got students going to and from lunch, going to school, coming home from school, and then you've got people getting out of the Baptist church. So it's tough enough to get in and out right now, getting across 27th Street to pull out of my neighborhood. And your alternative is to go out on Broadway, which you can't get in and out of because people are getting off the highway if there's an accident, if the traffic slows down. So we're kind of just trapped in there, and I don't see this as helping at all, but that's not my question. That's my comment. My question is your industrial products. What kind of products are we talking about? What's the percentage of hazardous materials?
I don't know if you've got exact percentages on that, but I can tell you, I'll answer your question generally. The railroad hauls a wide spectrum of commodities. So when you look at a train go by, you usually see a coal train, you see a auto train. I'm talking about around here, and I'm going from off the top of my memory here. That's bringing auto bears, or it's coal. We call this industrial products. So industrial products ranges from lumber, pipe, rolled metal, different consumer packaged goods. We move canned goods. We move sand, construction materials. We move, in some cases, hazardous materials, yes. Petroleum products, all the things that are produced and consumed in Oklahoma. So there's a very wide spectrum of commodities. Now, we expect this to be an industrial product site, using kind of the naming convention we use. So we expect at this site lumber, building materials. We expect aggregate and those types of commodities. And again, we could talk all night about different things that we attract and bring in.
Okay, just to follow up, because I've lived near railroads for a long time in different states and different areas, and I've had to evacuate when there's been a spillage because a tank truck spilled, okay? And my question is, who would pay for the hazmat cleanup, and will it be Moore's firefighters that are the first responders? Do you provide your own? Who's going to pay that bill?
Yeah, I can say that in the unlikely event of an incident that occurs, so 99.9% of all hazmat arrives at its destination without an incident. It's the safest way to transport. I would encourage you, I think we spoke earlier, definitely talk to your first responders. I believe the assistant fire chief reviewed the potential uses. I defer to the city on that since it was a staff person. I don't exactly recall it, but it was reviewed by your first responders. And then if an incident does occur, we defer to first responders. And how that coverage is I believe Oklahoma City is first responder, Moore is backup. But again, that's a first responder question. Anytime there is an incident, from some of the first people on the ground are our claim staff. If you look at any of the recent BNSF incidences that occurred with hazmat, you'll see that the community was appreciative of BNSF's response, whether that's Dune, Iowa, or that's up in South Dakota where incidences have occurred in the last recent memory. We've paid for everything, restored it to above or better than it was before, and you can check our record and that'll show in every incident.
I'm wondering about I understand you're going to have some Connex storage boxes stacked in there. Those Connex?
No, this is not an intermodal facility, so.
Okay, I got a couple more questions.
Sure.
Where are the entrances going to be into the yard?
The entrances into the logistics center are, maybe I'm going to turn to, keep doing that. So, there we go. I'll have him point at that one and I'll point at this one. So, as we work with Oklahoma City and as we work with the city of Moore, we have a the main north entrance here. That's at 89th Street and Eastern. And then the south entrance is right here at 27th Street and Cedar, excuse me. Cedar, we call it Pine, Cedar Lane. So this is an existing entrance, and this is an existing entrance. This used to be an intermodal not a long time ago. We closed it down. And now you've got a customer that's doing sand.
Drill sand.
Exactly, yes, sir. And we did have an entrance exit here, and we had one here and working with the city of Moore, we narrowed that down to 2. And we are designing our inner roads to flow north. Again, most of this stuff wants to be, most of this wants to be scaled. So truckers like to scale their product, or scale their trucks. Not in every case, but, so that scale is going to be along 89.
Okay, I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to be detaching and attaching train cars all night on more tracks? Is there going to be more of those tracks?
What I think you're asking, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is each of these customers are going to locate, they're going to build a facility, and they're going to have a track going into their facility. What we would do is switch them once a day.
No, what I'm talking about is at night, lots of times they release them and the cars are free-wheeling until they hook up again. And you hear that banging all night long. And
So
I'm wondering.
That's an existing operation, that's the
Yeah.
rail yard today, that's how it works. And
Are you going to have more of those tracks in there for
No,
that?
no. In fact, I think you're bringing up a very important point here. And I want to be sensitive how I say this. We're going to keep this land. This land can either go the route of commercial development where we bring in customers and they do their industry, whatever they do, and we serve them and they hire people and there's economic development. Or as Joe had said earlier, someday we could expand the rail operation, and that's, we have that right to do that. So the way I see it, as far as the noise and expanding the type of operation you have, this is much more quieter. Having actual industry in here, other than me expanding my rail operation. Would you agree with that, Joe? I think what you're describing, that's a hump yard right today. Flynn Yard is what they call a hump yard, which they push cars over a hill and they just let them, they go down and they go into the tracks and you build trains. So we're not talking about that here. We're talking about attracting industry. Customers that actually unload the rail cars and load them back up. So much more, less intense rail operation that way than what's there today.
So I hear how beneficial this is going to be to your industry, but I really fail to see how it's going to help me as a property owner. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, this is economic development. It's
not gonna help me.
Jobs, it brings in tax dollars, and that's what it does for the community. I think your younger generation would appreciate opportunities to have jobs. So I think it does benefit a part of your community.
What impact, if any, is going to happen east of Eastern to Bryant, where we have the housing area? Between Eastern and Bryant, is there going to be lights put up at Bryant? Is 89th going to be a 4-laner eventually to handle the traffic?
Is 89, I'm going to try to answer the question, so I'll start, was that your last question, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So is 89 going to be a 4-laner, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. No, as far as beyond Eastern, east of Eastern,
Yeah.
we're not touching that. There's nothing that we know of planned. That would be a question of for Oklahoma City. West of Eastern on 89th, our plans are to privatize that and take over the maintenance, be able to put the scales in, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now.
Are you going
Could
to
you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Are you going to open up access to I-35 on 89th?
No, there's no plans of that. That
Okay.
traffic would flow north of Eastern, it would flow north on Eastern up to 240 if it wanted to get to I-35 or another interstate. And again, we think most of the traffic in and out of the logistics center is going to flow that direction because of the scales and just the way the road, inner road system would work.
Okay.
Did I answer all your questions, sir?
Yes, thank you.
I have, excuse me, I have two questions. I'm trying to understand the flow of the traffic. The traffic is going to come in the main entrance off 89th. It's going to go into your area. And where's it coming out? On 27th?
It would go, we think most of the traffic is going to go in and out at 89th and Eastern because of the scales.
Okay, so what is the main south entrance going to be for?
Well, we have to, as a developer, we have to have two ways in and two ways out. And I'm not here telling you that no, there's not going to be any traffic coming out of 27th Street. A and B, Lot A and B, I would suspect that even though that's going to be lighter industrial, there is going to be flow from that direction. And I think your numbers that we've calculated and everything show that.
I was just trying to figure out how much is actually going to be traveling on Eastern from 89th to 27th. And I see you've blocked it off with the environmental design you have up here. And then on the corner, you said a water retention or something on the corner. And then I don't know where the green line is across there, the Oklahoma City line. That is not a road or street. It's just your, right, okay, your city line. So between 27th and 89th, the traffic flow that's going to be in there, what you're saying is they're coming from 240 down to 89th, cutting on 89th, going into your yard, coming back that way. So they would not be traveling on Eastern between 89th and 27th. But if they do come out in there and then they come out on the main south entrance on 27th, are they heading straight to the freeway west, or are they going to go back up Eastern, which would create more traffic on that section between 27th and 89th?
I think I know I think I understand your question, and I'm going to go over here and point. Yeah. So all we can do right now is project. We don't know at the end of the day who's actually going to be there until we know, until the opportunity comes along. But we are doing our very best to project the volumes in and out. I think this is your exact question, but traffic that would leave 89, how much would go down 27?
Or come back up, either way.
Okay, so how much would go down Eastern, out 35 on 27? We projected 4 an hour. Northbound, we don't think, I think that was 1, if not, maybe it was 0. Because there'd be no reason to go from 35 to 27th to Eastern and go north, unless they wanted to go to the scale, I guess. That would be a reason. Let me get a number for you here.
But internally,
Yeah.
we don't have customers, these are just design sites.
Yeah.
So whoever moves in there may determine what the flow is within our yard. They can enter and exit, but that's.
One, I
We
think
have a
was,
truck study
yeah,
that we've submitted.
yeah.
Okay. I live in the Waters, which is the neighborhood just to the east there. And to have that traffic and those trucks between 89th and 27th is of great concern to me. I definitely didn't move there pending you guys creating this big distribution center. And what I'm hearing is whoever takes those sites that you're pitching for companies to move in there is going to decide themselves what they want done there or what they're going to do.
Well, within the rules of the PUD, that's the idea of me as the developer working with the city, putting the different restrictions in and the zoning. And so, I mean, no, this is a planned development. It's not a free-for-all.
Yeah, on the property to the north, are you willing to let us have some spurs? I'm the property owner to the north of there.
Property to the north, north of what, sir?
North of 89th. I own that, going north.
So, you're talking about right here?
No, going the other side of the road. West side of Eastern. Right there.
Right here?
Yeah, I own that.
I think you got to cross it through the creek, if I remember correctly, right?
There is a creek there.
I don't know. You get into curvatures and you get into a lot of stuff. There's not a plan at this moment. You'd have to look.
I know, like
you'd have to look at
Budweiser's
a
got
lot of
one,
stuff to answer that question.
I was just,
Yeah.
okay.
I would like to. I mean, that's, we would like to develop, yes. I mean, that's what we're in the business of doing. So we can talk later.
So when ODOT goes to 35 and to 40 to make this a wider area for us, where are your trucks going to go then?
When ODOT, are you saying when they do improvements?
They are widening the turns?
Well, I don't work for ODOT. I
Right.
don't know exactly what they're going to do, but they normally, in my experience with them, they make provisions to, I know when I'm handling, when I'm doing something on the railroad, or I'm building one of these logistics centers, I have to calculate in existing traffic. In other words, I have to take into account there's already stuff moving, and I would suspect that as they're rebuilding 240 and 35, which I think is what you're implying, that they're going to have a plan around that to handle the existing volumes and traffic.
Correct me if I'm wrong on the truckers, but most of them will avoid construction. So the easier way for them to do that is come down 89th to 27th and out 27th to 35 and go north or south.
It depends on a lot of factors.
All right, my question to you on your north existing yard that's there, the sand yard. You said
The existing customer that I have
yeah,
there?
that you have.
Okay, all right.
What kind of sand do they haul?
They haul what they call frac sand.
Is it silica sand?
It is, I'm not a chemist or a mineralogist, but I think it's technically silica at the end of the day.
All right. And you are aware of the silica rules and so forth?
Right. I mean, our customer has that site, and they have to follow all the rules and regulations.
Your
correct?
customer does not follow the rules. I live right there in that subdivision and drive up to the intersection of 89th and Eastern 5 mornings a week, and many a morning you can look out across his tanks out there that they blow in, and it's just a haze floating through the air. I've followed many times a semi going north down Eastern. He pulls out of there ahead of me, and the white sand blows off back of his truck. You can look along the curb, and it's just white as snow. There's a lot of silica in the air that somebody's not playing by the rules.
Surprise.
So, I mean, how, do you have control over that person that does that or not?
Yeah, that existing customer or any customer that moves in there has to follow Oklahoma state law, so the environmental department, so I can contact them and ask them to check that, but we don't have an exemption for customers that are on our site, so an existing one or a new one would have to follow any rules. So I can get you that contact information, but that's across our network. Anybody that is on our site, transload, whatever, they have to follow the state statutes.
Right. And I'm just concerned for these other people that are down in that end, that somebody else like that goes in there and the people don't follow the rules. I understand their point completely.
Sure, we have air quality permits and water permits, and we have tons of permits that we maintain on different yard sites, including, anything that's required in Flint.
If they're maintaining,
So
why is that happening?
it's got to be whatever that compliance mechanism is within Oklahoma, and I believe that's the environmental department.
I'd like your information
Sure.
you've got, because I'm concerned with the silica rules
But
that they're not following.
if they're maintained, why is it happening?
Good question.
Did you get it? If it's maintained, why is it still happening?
I'll check with the folks, but I've been on site numerous times and I've never seen an issue. But again, we're not the compliance agency that then once something is en route or off of our property. But I know we're in compliance on site, and I'll definitely get you that information for Oklahoma's Environmental Department.
Since you've already told me I'm old and that the young people will care about this, but they're not here tonight, so I'm going to speak up again. What are you going to do to assure me that I'm not going to be hearing more noise? In my neighborhood right now, as I said, I live just south of the Baptist church. All day long, I hear the squealing of the brakes. I hear the cars clanking together. I hear the train horns, and at night, it's just even louder. So I'm concerned that we're never going to get another night's sleep once you add more to the mix.
Well, I think what you're complaining about now is the existing rail operations. And I'm not bringing in I'm not expanding the rail operations. I'm bringing in a business park, a logistics center. And yes, they are served. They're served once a day into their site, but I'm not technically expanding the rail operation, which is what you're talking about, at least on the rail side. Now, on the trucks, we're doing everything we can to mitigate their impact. And, the numbers are there. Thank you. Why don't you want to kind of go into the berm and all the...
Sure. So from an engineering perspective, the PUD is going to limit the noise, dust, and pollution, and we have a requirement that the city put in that when each customer comes in to build, they are going to have to submit a study for all that. That will be reviewed by city staff and assessed on an individual basis. In addition to those studies, there's also the landscape berm that will be planted on the entire Moore side, and it will address noise and dust.
I was just wondering, has it been considered to build a bridge at 89th from where it dead ends over to the existing road with you an exit and an entrance there for trucks? That would keep the truck traffic on 89th between 89th and I-35.
As far as going that particular route, we have not. No, that wouldn't really fall into our area anyway. We don't build that highway. That would be part of ODOT's decision to do. As far as me building in Pankport, the project, it wouldn't pencil out.
Well, I remember when 89th was a well-used road, and whenever they came in, put the yard in, then they decided to shut it down, and that affected a lot of people.
Somebody, right here. Oh, sorry.
I think I actually completely understand this gentleman's idea. There's already a truck stop at 89th. There's another one there that's closed down that I don't know what they're doing with. But you got McLean on 89th, you got a bunch of already existing commercial properties at 89th and I believe it's Pole. Why not open 89th at that and make an entrance there and an exit? It would essentially keep all the traffic within your yard, have a single entrance at the 89th cutoff, and then you have 89th to 35, and it would eliminate most of your truck traffic on 89th and Eastern and 89th and 27th and Eastern. It would, and it's closer to 240, it's closer to I-35, and if you work with Lowe's, maybe they can figure out a way to expand it so they can include a cat scale on their truck stop. I'm just trying, I think you're going to end up having a problem with too much traffic on Eastern and too much traffic on 27th. Somebody's going to get killed.
what about a sound barrier wall between the train tracks and the housing additions? Because we know the nighttime traffic keeps people awake already. From BNSF for us.
Well, I think that BNSF Railway is definitely going beyond what's been required normally in building the berm. All the different statutes and working with the city. So I think we are building a berm to alleviate some of the issues that you're talking about. Yeah. At 27th and what?
It's really going to impact the people from 27th to 12th Street.
I think I'm kind of turned around, but the berm would go from the bridge on 27th along 27th to Eastern, and then from Eastern to, I don't know exactly, what's that?
City limits.
The city limits.
And I'm talking about south of that.
Truck traffic isn't going to go down Eastern to 12th Street.
Eastern to...
So 27th, 12th is
Right.
the next south road.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Train traffic in between
Yeah.
27th and 12th is already loud. Now we're going to increase traffic on the road.
It's an operational railroad, has been for 100 years, and trains make noise. So we're federally regulated. Noise is not something that's regulated by the FRA or by agencies that regulate us, but the rail has been in existence for 100 years operating on those tracks.
You were saying you had like 260 trucks per day estimated? Was that what you said earlier?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me just
Okay.
clarify one thing. That is at full build-out 2025,
Okay,
2026.
okay. So eventually there could be, so.
Eventually could be, yes.
In your engineering, and you said how much could possibly exit on 27th Street?
Coming from the north, or from 89th?
No, well, I'm just, your main entrance off of 27th, you said a third could possibly, trucks exit back onto 27th from your yard? So 40 to 50 trucks a day? Is that what your estimate was?
When I said 4, just so you know, that was on an hour, okay? That was an hour
Yeah.
basis. So you're talking about in a...
Yeah, in a day's time,
24-hour day.
yep.
Do you want to, you got them right there? Okay.
Right
Yeah.
turn on the south entrance on the 27th.
Why don't you bring the computer, just,
Yeah.
that way we're not, we've got the exact figures.
You said right turn from the...
Well, I'm
south
just saying
entrance.
trucks leaving your yard, going back with the load, back onto 27th Street, whether they go left or right, east or west. So most of them are going to be heading back toward I-35, correct? Which would be back west.
Right.
Okay. My concern is that, 27th Street exit, when you're coming from the south off of 35, 27th Street is already a congested exit back onto 27th Street. And then trucks, so whenever the trucks go back to 35, more likely they're not going north. Possibly some of them might, but you're going to have a large majority of them going back south. Well, the only entrance back onto 35 South is north of 5th Street. And, well, they can go all the way to Shields, yes. But most of them is going to turn on Service Road and go down the Service Road southbound, and that entrance is maybe 2 car lengths long. It might hold 1 truck. So the congestion in that area is going to be immense. They already have wrecks there consistently. So in your engineering studies and everything, did y'all ever have any conversation with what ODOT might do in the future if the truck traffic increases so much that becomes a congested mess and wrecks happen more often than what they do now?
So
in your studies?
I can speak to the site-developed traffic.
Yeah.
Right now, we are showing 52 trucks per day going down 29th. As far as the ODOT,
27.
what's that?
You said 27 to 47?
27th, yes, sorry. So we show that 52 trucks per day would be going that way, the direction you're talking. As far as ODOT coordination between BNSF and them, that would be,
Michael, if I can jump in here. I'm Brooks Mitchell. I'm the city manager. We are aware of that potential situation. We have brought that to ODOT's attention. In fact, we've delivered a letter to the governor's office last week and Tim Gatz, the Secretary of Transportation, and I know a couple of members of our legislation delegation are meeting on that issue next week. So it's we know it's a concern, and ODOT will address it.
We're happy to stay and chat, but I know that at some point we wanted to close this from the broadcast, so any other questions? We're happy to stay and answer questions, but I think that some folks are ready to wrap it up. I don't know if anybody want to make any other comments, want to thank you, and then we'll be up here, our contacts, is that okay? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Next steps.
Next step.
Next steps.
There you go.
This application has not been heard. Thank you. Thank you. This application has not been heard by the city council. There's been no decisions made. This is still in the proposal phase. The next steps, I believe, is that we're going to go, you're going to go back to Planning Commission in March, on March the 10th, I believe. And then it would go for city council consideration on March 17th. Let me double check those. 16th. Planning Commission on March 10th and City Council on March 16th. So we'll be getting out notices and postings on social media to let you know of those dates coming up. All right, that's all I have. Thank you
Thank you very much.